Welcome to 2026 and another wonderful winning Wednesday. I hope you are enjoying 2026. It's a little bit cold over here in Northern Virginia, but guess what? We don't let the weather control our day. We fight on. So, with that being said, I hope that everyone has turned a corner and are now in a position to where they are not only actioning their resolutions, but they're keeping the promises to themselves. I was watching over the holidays an excerpt from Steph Curry, and basically the commitment that he keeps to himself of working out and shooting his shots every day. And the quote that came across to me is, if you can't keep a contract with yourself, who can you keep a contract with? That resonated with me when I heard that, and that's definitely something that is probably going to stay with me for the next couple of weeks. I want to welcome Eunice to the party.
Hey.
What's going on? And this is a topic that, we've been sitting and thinking about this one topic for a while.
Mhm.
And you know what? I have the wrong Q&A section up there, but let me just quickly change that. Eunice, why don't you take over so that I can make this one quick adjustment so that everyone who sees this can know what it is that we're going to be talking about today.
Mhm. Well, I hope all our listeners had a good time, had a time to rest. That's very important. Rest and a time to sort of sit down and say, what's next? What am I doing this year? What is it that I plan to do? I'm not much of a resolution type of person, but I believe in looking back and saying, okay, I was able to do this and I was not able to do this. If I was not able to do something, what is it that made it not possible for me to get it done? And can I now work on it and get it done? So I'm hoping that you've had a restful time, you've had time to reflect, you are ready to kickstart the year, and it's a beautiful time of year. It's cold, and a lot of people, some people do love that, enjoy that. It's been cold, and we've had some snow at some point, but overall it's great. It's great, and it's a good time to um,
You know you love the
work on
cold.
your business. Work on your business. Excuse me. Ooh. Work on your
You know
business
you
and
love
figure
the
out.
cold.
Yes, I do love the cold. If
you
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 say
know
so.
you love
If
the
you say
cold.
so.
You know
If you
you
say
love the
so.
cold.
Well, the one thing I've had to learn to do is just to say, how there's something that you like to say whenever you talk to people. So I've changed it around, and I say, if I'm not here cold, the only other way really for me right now is to be possibly in Botswana.
But you got to remember
But
when we went to Botswana in July, August, it was cold.
well, right now it's summer.
No,
So
no,
what I'm
this is
saying
a
is,
right now
right now,
situation.
the only way that I would experience summer is if I went there. But
Yeah.
I want to be with my family, so I choose to be here with my family and to keep doing what we're doing and do our business and all that. That brings me a lot of joy. So it is what it is. We're here, and
Maybe we
today
can. One of my
today.
clients is in, I think she's in Orlando, Florida.
Uh-huh.
And before we went on break, one of the things that we talk about whenever we do a session is tell me what the temperature is where you are. And I believe the last time she told me, she said it was 81 degrees.
Mm,
This
nice.
was in December. So, you know what, babe? We'll set up the plan to eventually
Mm.
spend our winters in Florida. How about that? Does that make sense?
Well, when the kids are older, now because of school, we have to be here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we could do homeschooling. You can do homeschooling. You know I like to come up with these ideas that you implement.
I love the way you quickly switched and said, you can do homeschooling, not we, not we. No, 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 no. You can do homeschooling.
No, 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 no. You know, I love to come up with these ideas that you so graciously implement. Hey, but
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk to our audience today about business credit mistakes that kill funding potential. But I'm reading this book, and there was a quote that came across today that I want to share with the audience is failing is not a problem you will face. Failing is how you will get there.
Mm,
That takes a little bit of thinking. I believe it's a mindset shift because, yes, as an entrepreneur, you are going to probably have more failures than successes on your journey, right? It's not failing that is the problem that you face, but how you react and deal with those failures in order to move over to the next level that
hmm.
makes all of the difference. So let's jump into our topic today. Eunice, I'm going to ask you really quickly. Tell me what you believe is one of the reasons why business fail. And business is fumble their fund or kill their funding potential. And I'll tell you if you are spot on or if there's a little bit more work that we have to do there. What do you think is the number one reason why businesses kill their funding potential?
Well, the first thing that I can think of is misalignment, where you believe that your business is doing well, and because your business is doing well, and you should be able to get funding, and
Hmm.
missing that business funding or potential to get funding is not just only based on money coming into your business account. There are other things other than just that lenders are going to look at.
Well, I will start is you're on the right track, right? It's really about how lenders are going to look at your business. And the first thing that I see when I have this conversation with a number of different small business owners is the fact that they didn't even know that their businesses had a credit profile, right? Because on the personal side, they never had to, apply for a business credit profile. It's just that Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they all of us something new about you, right?
Mhm.
And all of us something that there was this number that was judging you. But I would say the top reason why businesses are having difficulty with getting access to business credit is they're blurring the line between personal and business credit. We've seen it, we've heard it, we actually have done it, but that kills your funding potential because lenders want to see a legitimate, independent business entity, right? When you are commingling personal and business credit, that signals risk. And not only does it signal risk, it signals immaturity,
Mhm.
right? Because a business must be set up in order to scale, right? What are some of the signs that you think would show immaturity when a business owner is applying for financing?
I can't think of anything, but I wanted to touch back on what you were talking about with the credit. That I think that there is a lot of, should I say, a lot of content out there or information out there that pertains or that says to a lot of business owners, or that doesn't speak about business credit per se. So a lot of business owners have always believed that I need to work on my personal credit so that my business can have access to funds. So it's more of an education aspect where a lot of businesses end up having that personal credit suffer. And when that happens, they internally they say, I'm doomed. This business will not just grow because my personal credit has suffered. Now, I'm not saying you cannot build business credit with not so great personal credit. And I'm
Hmm.
also not saying for you to build business credit, you do not need good credit. But there's a distinction between the two. Yes, at some point your business, your personal may help your business. However, building those two independently and ensuring that you don't mix them helps a whole lot when now your business is ready to look for funding.
No, first and foremost, there is the FICO SBSS score, right? That pulls in your personal credit worthiness as you are applying for uh, business credit. But I would have to say that the business owner, initially, if you're having a startup, that startup is going to be in a position where it doesn't have a credit profile nor a credit history, right? In that particular instance, the business owner would then have to leverage or provide a personal guarantee, but it's a sign of immaturity when there isn't a strategy to graduate off them providing personal guarantees.
Well said. Yes. Yeah.
So I believe that that makes sense. Another call out for a mistake that a business owner has is when they're commingling
Yeah.
personal expenses on a business card or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a clear line of separation, right? And how can you say that you are in business, but you're not using a branded domain? So you're using a at Gmail or something similar, but you also do not have a business banking account, or you have inconsistent balances. You know, we talk about the three nines, the four nines, and the five nines, where you should have a consistent average. You typically want to have it at least four nines, which is, you know, at least $10,000 in that business bank account, so that you can show lenders that you are responsible with financing,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So as we transition out of that portion of the conversation, the quick tagline that I wanted to say to all of our business owners out there: if your business can't stand on its own, why would a lender ever trust you with its capital,
Yes.
right? So how do we position that? VIP business credit, right, is going to help business owner set up those first steps to become fundable without having to provide a personal credit check as the bottleneck, right? Eventually, your business will be able to stand all on its own, but there is work that must be done in order to get there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you let's talk about number 2, right? And this is a concept I've spoken over the last week or so to several business owners, and they were not aware that I think the number might be north of 80% of vendors who you have transactions with aren't reporting those transactions with the credit reporting agencies,
Well, to
right?
add on to that, not only that, sometimes you do have vendors who initially are reporting or have always been reporting, but then along the way they stop doing so. Now, one of
Yeah.
the beautiful things about working with a company like VIP Credit is that that list is constantly being updated. So if, for example, you had an account with vendor X and vendor X is no longer doing that, you will be made aware of that, and you can then make an informed decision. Do I want to continue because maybe I still love whatever that they offer me, or can I look for an alternative? Because when you are intentionally saying, I am looking to build business credit, and for me to do that, I need to make sure that all the vendors I use are going to be reporting. At that point, now that you have the information, then you
Mhm.
are in a position where you can say, okay, do I continue with them, or do I tend to now look somewhere else and make most of my purchases from there?
No, that makes a whole lot of sense. When we first started, we had opened up an account with an office supply company that is still in business, but
Mhm.
decided that they were no longer going to be reporting,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
once we became aware of that, I don't even know if we still have that account open. You would know better than me. But
Mhm.
we started to work with different office supply vendors who are actually going to report our transactions with them, right?
Mhm.
But to build on that, you need to be working with vendors who are actually reporting, but it doesn't make sense. Just like on the personal side, you have the Experian, the TransUnion, and the Equifax. On the business side, you need to have your Dun and Bradstreet file. You need to have your Experian business as well as your Equifax business profiles,
Mhm.
right? But not
Yes.
only must you have those files open, you should be working with vendors who are reporting those trade experiences to those different profiles. Why? Because business credit that doesn't report is just the payment history that you cannot use.
Yeah.
I hope that makes a lot of sense to our owners, right?
Well, and I have had a lot of business owners who say, no, you can even see my bank statements. I'm always paying on time. I have a good payment history. So what you're saying is very helpful, because having that payment history but not having any of that great payment history being reported doesn't help you much.
100%. And I think the last one that we'll close out on, because we try to keep this to 30 minutes in length, right? But I think the last one is probably going to be the most critical one, right? And the
Mhm.
last one speaks to applying too early or too randomly for capital, right? We ran into this mistake where initially we had no idea what our NAICS code was, right? We didn't even know it was a thing. We really thought that, oh, we were doing something big when we got our EIN number and then we had our DUNS number, right?
Yep. Hmm.
But we had no idea what our NAICS code was. And since we were at that point in real estate, we were basically using a NAICS code, and that was injecting risk into our credit profile. And that was one of the things that we had to change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said the third top reason that businesses are killing their access to funding is that they are applying too early or too randomly for capital. The one thing that they don't realize is that denials leave breadcrumbs, right? Every denial has a data footprint. Even if it doesn't hit your personal credit, banks remember.
Yes. And it's there. It's there. When banks go back to find out where else do you have debt and how's your credit, how are you doing in terms of making those payments for any other debt that you may have out there, that is going to be recorded, that's going to be there. So you can imagine, similar to personal, if you have been, you know, either have collections, those things stay on your record. So if you, as a business owner, you go today, you apply for debt, and you're not able to go to get it, and you don't go and do the work to make sure that the next time you go, you've done the work, and you say, you know what, let me try another place, let me try another place, let me try another place, all those things are going to be there. So the best thing really is, even, some people will say, well, I've been denied already. Even if you have been, find somebody to work with. Reach out. We can work with you to start rebuilding, or to add on, or to guide you through how to get your profile to be strong enough so that when you do go now for the second time around, you will potentially get that funding.
No, and one of the things that you had mentioned is you mentioned around working with the vendors who are actually reporting to the credit reporting agencies.
Hmm.
But there is an inverse to that as well, is knowing what the funding sources approval criteria is something that
Yes.
makes sense,
Yes.
right? So understanding that we know from the many funding sources who we work with, we will not allow for you to apply if you don't have the minimum revenue requirements.
Yeah.
If there is a time and business requirement, we know what the different lending sources are actually going to be asking for. We also know in advance from having experience in working with these different lenders what their credit debt requirements are, right? So
Yeah.
I would think that one of the biggest two mistakes that I often see with small business owners is they are applying before revenue, time in business, or credit debt requirements are met, but also they have no understanding of what is a NAICS code. And this could be the phantom that they never know about, because if they are in a high risk industry, plus they have some other issues with their personal credit or other collateral that they might not be providing, guess what? These are automatic knockdowns. And because on the business credit reporting side, they don't have to send you a letter that tells you why they denied you. You're left
Mm.
in the dark.
Yeah.
So the teachable moment here is that funding is not about luck, right? If you want luck, you play the lottery and you hope that you are that person who was in, I believe it was Arkansas, who won the $1.8 billion on Christmas Eve. That was a hell of a Christmas gift, right? Funding is not about luck. It's about timing and positioning. And that's where VIP credit, we have been in this business now for about 3 years. We haven't seen it all, but we have seen a lot. And
Yeah.
that's where we are in the position to be able to help you to navigate, get access to different funding sources. right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to be able to give your business what it needs, not only to survive, but thrive past year 5. And the reason why we say that is because many businesses, it's the start of the new year. We're all about telling the truth. Many small businesses will not hit their 5th-year anniversary. And it's because, one, sometimes great ideas don't translate into business revenues. Why don't you use a reliable accountability partner to pressure test your business idea? Why not do the market research that is necessary to understand whether or not, if you have a TAM, total addressable market, for your
Mm-hmm.
business, and who is your customer? Where are they hanging out, and what is it that they're saying to one another? Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So this is the first one. Eunice, I think maybe we go with these events. Do we want to stay on for every week, or do we're pretty much building out the content at this point in time? But no, we'll talk about that one offlines. So how do how do you believe we bring this all together and we close this out? What is the biggest takeaway that you have from today's session?
Well, the biggest takeaway really is that as a business, we all need funding. And to
Hmm.
make sure that we get the funding that we need, we have to do work on our businesses to ensure that when we do approach lenders, we don't
Hmm.
fall into the mistakes that we have been talking about and end up not being able to get those funding. So, as a business, this is a good time that you can pull out your profile and say, how am I doing? How's my business profile doing? That way, you can see, pretty much look at the horizon and say, okay, this is where I am, and where do I envision this business? What type of resources am I going to need to make sure that I get to where I'm looking to go? This is a great time to do that. Every business to be successful, it's going to need business credit so that they can get access to funds, right? So
You,
it's not a luxury to have. When when your business, and when you run a business and you're looking to put a stamp to it to be sustainable in a long term, this is not for, a year or two in business and then close out. But we're looking for people who say, I believe in this business, I know this is a valuable business that is giving, or that has a service or provides something that the community really surely needs. I just need the funds to be able to make sure that I can grow, I can be sustainable. The first thing, you have to make sure that you are aware of your business profile, and you do get the help or the assistance that you may need to make sure that it improves, it gets better and better, and positions you well when it comes to looking for further funding.
no, that's a great takeaway. My takeaway, in what I would add to what you have already said, Eunice, is that
Mhm.
most business owners aren't denied credit because they're unqualified. And I'll repeat that. Most business owners aren't denied because they're unqualified. They're denied because they are unprepared.
Yeah.
And when you think about preparation, this is something that is definitely within your realm of controllables. You control how prepared you are. I would close out by saying there's an old expression. I know I'm old now, or I'm getting old, but there's an old expression that says The old expression says that you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. When you are ready to apply for lines of credit, loans, or even alternative funding sources such as crowdfunding, etc., those are options that are available to you when you work with VIP Business Credit. And I will close out by saying we are here to help you. If you scan the QR code, you get access to our calendar. We'll have a detailed conversation and help you to set up a roadmap so that you know where you're going next.
Mhm.
Eunice, what do you want to talk about next week?
I am not sure yet. We can talk about it offline and we will update the heading before the live.
How about this? Tax-free retirement and capital access. The dual power of whole life.
Tax free. Sounds good.
Let's talk about it later. But
We
what
can
we
talk
want to
about it. Yeah.
say to all of our friends in the internet world, wherever you are, happy, wonderful, winning Wednesday. This is the first Wednesday that we are celebrating in January of 2026. We look forward to talking to you and helping your business to not only thrive, but survive past year 5. Join us next week for another episode. If you haven't, subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you receive these wonderful episodes as we make them available. You have the last word, Eunice.
Well, have a great afternoon wherever you are and see you next week on another